Commander Kate stood at the viewing window of Trading Station Apex, watching ships come and go through the docking ports. She had been negotiating supply contracts for the past 3 hours, and her head hurt from dealing with stubborn traders who wanted twice the standard price for basic food supplies. The station floated at the edge of space, a neutral zone where different species could meet and trade without conflict. At least, that was how it was supposed to work. Kate was 32 years old with short brown hair and tired eyes. She served as a diplomatic aboard the human merchant vessel Horizon's Edge. Her job was simple: make deals, keep the peace, and avoid trouble. She was good at it, mostly because she knew when to talk and when to stay quiet. The emergency alarms shattered the quiet afternoon. Red lights flashed throughout the station corridor. Kate's communication device buzzed against her hip. She pulled it free and saw the message that made her stomach drop. Hunting party approaching. Small transport vessel in distress. All ships maintain distance. Kate ran to the nearest observation deck. Other species were already there, pressing against the windows to see what was happening. She pushed through the crowd until she could see the space beyond the station. 3 warships surrounded a small civilian transport. The transport was maybe a quarter the size of the hunting vessels, old and barely armed. It hung in space like a trapped animal, trying to maneuver but blocked at every turn. "Who are they hunting?" Kate asked a tall alien beside her. The creature had blue skin and 4 arms, a trader she recognized from earlier negotiations. The trader said, shaking his head, "Refugees fleeing the border conflicts. They made a mistake coming through territory." Kate felt her chest tighten. She knew about they were peaceful herbivores, gentle and kind, with no weapons to speak of. They had lost their home world to resource wars between larger powers. Now they scattered across the galaxy, looking for any place that would take them in. They were different. They were apex predators, 2 meters tall with scaled skin and razor-sharp teeth. Their culture valued strength above everything else. They saw weaker species as either servants or prey. The strong survived and the weak served. That was their law. Kate watched as the ships fired warning shots across the transport's bow. The small ship stopped moving, surrendering. A voice crackled over the station's open communication channel. It was deep and rough, speaking in the common trade language. "This is War, leader of the hunting fleet. We claim this vessel and all aboard as trophies under ancient hunting rights. Any who interfere will be considered hostile." The station shook with murmurs and worried voices. No one would interfere. No one ever did. They had powerful friends in the Predator Council, a group of warrior species that controlled large sections of this part of space. Going against them meant war. Kate's hands gripped the railing in front of the window. She zoomed in with her personal scanner, focusing on the transport ship. Through the small viewports, she could see movement inside. Were huddled together, their large eyes wide with fear. Then she saw them. 5 small shapes pressed against one window, cubs, children no bigger than human toddlers. They had fur that shimmered like grass in sunlight, small hands pressed against the glass. One of them was crying. Something inside Kate broke. She remembered another day, another time. She had been 7 years old when raiders attacked her colony. She remembered hiding in a closet with her younger sister Amy. She remembered the sounds of weapons fire, the screams, the smell of smoke. She remembered Amy's hand in hers, small and trusting. She remembered the door being torn open. Amy had been 5 years old. The raiders took her. Kate never saw her sister again. Kate turned away from the window and started walking. Her legs moved automatically, carrying her toward the docking bay where her shuttle waited. Behind her, someone called her name, but she did not stop. "Commander, where are you going?" It was Lieutenant Grant, her second officer from the Horizon's Edge. He caught up to her in the corridor, grabbing her arm. "Kate, you can't get involved. It's suicide." "They have children," Kate said. Her voice was quiet but firm. "5 cubs, I saw them." The station authorities won't allow it, said. They have diplomatic immunity. If you interfere, you'll cause an incident. You could start a war. Kate pulled her arm free. Then let them court-martial me later. I'm not watching those cubs die. His face showed pain and frustration. Kate, please, think about this. You're one person. What can you possibly do against 3 warships? Kate looked at him. I can try. High above the station, invisible to everyone below, a massive ship floated in the darkness. It was larger than any of the hunters, covered in technology that bent light around it. Inside, 5 figures sat in a circular chamber, watching screens that showed everything happening near the trading station. These were the Predator Council, the leaders of the strongest warrior species in this sector. They observed significant events, judging which species deserved respect and which deserved subjugation. They had come to watch the hunt, a routine event that usually ended quickly. Elder, the oldest council member, leaned forward in his seat. He was a massive creature, covered in thick armor-like skin. He had lived for 3 centuries and seen countless species rise and fall. His eyes focused on one screen showing a human female walking toward a shuttle. The human is moving, he said to the others. Fleeing most likely, said another council member, a warrior named. He was younger, barely a century old. Her species are traders and talkers, not fighters. Perhaps, said slowly, but she moves with purpose. Alert the hunters. I want full observation protocols. Something about this one interests me. The council members adjusted their screens, focusing their sensors on the human. They watched as she entered a small shuttle and began launch procedures. They watched as station security tried to stop her, and she ignored them. They watched as she cleared the docking bay and turned her vessel toward the warships. Fascinating, whispered. She goes toward the danger, not away from it. Kate's hands were steady on the shuttle controls as she flew toward the hunting fleet. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. She knew this was probably the last thing she would ever do. She had no weapons that could threaten a warship. She had no backup, no plan, and no authority to do what she was about to do. But she kept flying anyway. She opened a communication channel to all ships in the area. This is Commander Kate of the human vessel Horizon's Edge. War Leader, I request your attention. There was silence for a long moment. Then the rough voice answered, sounding amused. A human wishes to speak. This should be entertaining. Speak, small one. Kate took a deep breath. I challenge your claim to the refugees. I offer myself in their place. Now the silence was different. Kate could almost feel the shock radiating through space. On the observation deck, people stared at the screens in disbelief. In the council ship, 5 predators leaned forward, suddenly very interested. War Leader laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound. You, a single human, you offer yourself as prey in place of 25 cubs. Do you understand what you are saying? Yes, Kate said. I understand perfectly. Do you accept? The council chamber erupted in discussion. This had never happened before. A prey species offering itself for another prey species. It made no sense. It went against every natural law they knew. Elder raised his hand for silence. Let us watch, he said. I must see how this ends. His voice came through the communication channel again. Very well, human, I accept your challenge, but we will do this properly. You will hunt on Prime, our sacred hunting ground. Survive 1 planetary rotation and all refugees go free. Fail and both you and they become my trophies. Do you agree to these terms? Kate looked at her screens showing the transport ship. She could still see the 5 cubs pressed against the window. One of them seemed to be looking directly at her, even though she knew that was impossible from this distance. I agree, she said. The warships changed formation, opening a path for Kate's small shuttle. She flew through the gap, her vessel tiny compared to the massive hunting ships around her. War Leader's face appeared on her communication screen. He was exactly what she expected. Scaled skin the color of old blood, yellow eyes with vertical pupils, teeth designed for tearing meat. "You have courage," human said, "or stupidity. With your kind, it is often difficult to tell the difference. You will dock with my command ship. We will discuss the terms of your hunt." Kate landed her shuttle in the hangar bay 20 minutes later. The bay was enormous, designed for ships 3 times the size of hers. 6 warriors waited for her at the landing pad, each one carrying weapons that could cut through steel. They stood perfectly still, watching her with the patience of natural predators. She stepped out of the shuttle, keeping her hands visible. The warriors surrounded her immediately, but they did not threaten her. This was a matter of honor now. She had issued a challenge and had accepted. Until the hunt began, she was a guest, not prey. They led her through corridors that smelled like metal and something else, something organic and dangerous. Others stopped to stare as she passed. Some looked confused. Others looked hungry. Kate kept her eyes forward and her breathing steady. War Leader waited in a large chamber decorated with trophies from past hunts. Skulls lined the walls, some from species Kate recognized, others she had never seen before. Sat in a chair made from some creature's bones, studying her with those cold, yellow eyes. "You are smaller than I expected," he said. "Humans are supposed to be, you look soft." "Looks can be wrong," Kate said. Lips pulled back, showing rows of sharp teeth. It might have been a smile. "We shall see. Here are the terms. You will be taken to Prime, our sacred hunting ground. It is where we train our young to become warriors. The land is harsh. The wildlife is deadly. Many of our own cubs do not survive their first hunt there." "How long?" Kate asked. "1 planetary rotation, approximately 26 of your hours. You will be given basic survival equipment, 1 knife, 1 water container, basic medical supplies, no weapons, no communication devices, no shelter. And the hunters. 6 of my best warriors will hunt you. They know every rock, every tree, every hiding place on that world. They have been hunting since they could walk. If they catch you, they will kill you. There will be no mercy." Kate felt her mouth go dry, but she did not let her fear show on her face. "And if I survive?" "Then you win," said. "All refugees go free. You return to your ship with honor. My word on this is absolute. The Predator Council itself watches this hunt. I cannot break my oath." "The Predator Council?" Kate asked. "They're watching." Gestured to the ceiling. "They watch all significant hunts. They judge species by their actions. This hunt has become significant. A human offering herself for prey not of her own kind. This is unusual. They want to see what you will do." Kate understood then. This was bigger than just saving the refugees. The entire galaxy would know about this. Humanity would be judged by her actions in the next 26 hours. "I accept the terms," she said. Stood from his chair. "You have 4 hours to prepare. Use them well. Most who enter the hunt grounds do not see the sun set." They gave her a small room to prepare. Kate sat on the floor and opened the pack they provided. 1 knife with a blade the length of her forearm. 1 container that held maybe 2 liters of water. Basic medical supplies, bandages, antiseptic, pain medication. Nothing else. She checked her personal belongings. They had taken her communication device and her scanner. She still had her basic clothes and boots. She still had the small data pad with photos of her family. She looked at the picture of Amy, taken a week before the raid. Her little sister smiled at the camera, missing her 2 front teeth. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you," Kate whispered to the photo. "Maybe I can save them." A message came through the room's communication panel. It was her second officer. "Kate, the captain is furious. He says you violated about 15 regulations, but the crew took a vote. We're with you. We'll wait for you, however long it takes." Kate felt tears threaten but pushed them back. "Tell the captain I'll accept whatever punishment he wants if I make it back. Tell the crew thank you." Kate's voice was rough. "Don't die out there, that's an order." "I'll do my best, Lieutenant." Before they took her to the planet, they allowed the refugees to see her. It was another honor tradition. The prey got to see who fought for them. Kate stood in the hangar bay as 20 adults filed in, the 5 cubs walking between them. They were tall and thin, covered in soft fur that shifted colors based on their emotions. Right now, most of them showed colors of fear and gratitude, blues and greens swirling together. One of the adults approached her. She was female, Kate thought, though it was hard to tell with their species. She spoke in the trade language, her voice musical. "You do not know us. We are nothing to your people. Why do you do this?" Kate looked at the 5 cubs hiding behind the adults. They stared at her with huge eyes, round and innocent. "Because someone has to," Kate said simply. The female's fur rippled with colors Kate did not understand. "If you die, we die. You know this." "I know." "Then we will pray to our ancestors for you, Kate. We will tell our cubs about you for all generations. You are packed to us now. Forever." The cubs came forward then, the adults letting them approach. They reached out with small hands, touching Kate's arms and hands. Their fur was incredibly soft. One of them, the smallest, looked up at her and made a sound like wind chimes. "He says you are brave," the female translated. "He says he wants to be like you when he grows up." Kate knelt down so she was at eye level with the cubs. "Be better than me," she said. "Be kind, be safe, grow up happy." Then they came and took her away. High in the invisible ship, the Predator Council watched everything. Elder had not moved from his screen for 3 hours. He watched the human say goodbye to creatures not of her species. He watched her touch the cubs with gentle hands. He watched her wipe away tears when she thought no one was looking. "She knows she will die," said the younger council member. "Why does she persist?" "That," said slowly, "is what we are here to discover." Prime was a nightmare world. Kate saw it through the transport window as they descended through the atmosphere. The forests were deep red, almost purple in the fading light. The mountains looked like broken teeth, sharp and unforgiving. The sky was the color of old bruises. They landed in a clearing surrounded by dense forest. The temperature was hot, maybe 40 degrees Celsius. The air was thin, and Kate had to breathe deeply to get enough oxygen. The gravity was slightly higher than Earth standard. Everything felt heavy. War leader stood at the transport's ramp. 6 hunters will be released in 1 hour. They will come from 6 different directions. Run, human, hide, fight. Do whatever you must. The hunt begins at sunset. Kate took the pack with her supplies and stepped onto the alien soil. The ground was covered in something that looked like grass but felt like wire under her boots. The red trees towered above her, their leaves making sounds like whispers in the wind. "One more thing," said. Kate turned to look at him. The war leader's expression was unreadable. "I have killed many prey species. I have hunted on 100 worlds, but I have never seen prey fight for other prey. If you somehow survive this, human, I will want to know why you did it." "If I survive," Kate said, "I'll tell you." The transport lifted off, leaving her alone in the clearing. Kate checked the sun. It was low on the horizon, maybe 2 hours from setting. 2 hours before 6 trained killers started hunting her. She looked at the forest around her, studying the terrain. The trees were thick, providing cover. The ground sloped upward to the east, toward rocky hills. To the west she heard running water. South and north, just more forest. Kate made her decision. She ran toward the water. The sun touched the horizon as she found the stream. She filled her water container, then kept moving. She did not follow the stream. That was what they would expect. Instead, she moved perpendicular to it, heading into the deepest part of the forest. She climbed a tree as darkness fell. From the high branches, she could see lights in the distance. The hunters had been released. 6 points of light spread out in a wide circle, all moving toward the center where she had been dropped. Kate settled into the branches, securing herself with strips torn from her medical bandages. She would rest for a few hours, Let the hunters exhaust themselves searching the obvious places. Then, when they expected her to be running blind in the dark, she would move. In the council ship, Elder watched the human climb into the tree. "Clever," he said. "She understands patience." "She delays the inevitable," said. "The hunters will find her trail at first light." "Perhaps," said, "or perhaps we have underestimated humans again." Below, in the red forest of Prime, Kate closed her eyes and thought of 5 small cubs with soft fur and innocent eyes. She had 24 hours left. 24 hours to prove that sometimes the prey fought back. The hunt had begun. Kate woke before dawn, her body stiff from sleeping in the tree branches. The forest around her was alive with sounds she did not recognize. Clicking noises came from somewhere below. Something howled in the distance, a sound that made her skin crawl. The air had cooled during the night, and her breath formed small clouds in front of her face. She climbed down carefully, her muscles protesting every movement. The first rule of survival was to keep moving. The second rule was to never move in a straight line. Kate headed north for an hour, then turned east. She walked through streams when she found them, breaking her trail. She climbed over rocks instead of walking around them. She doubled back twice, making false trails that led nowhere. These were tactics she learned in basic military training, back when she thought she might join Earth's defense forces. She never finished that training. She chose diplomacy instead. Now she wished she had chosen differently. The sun rose slowly, turning the red forest into shades of crimson and orange. Kate stopped to eat one of her ration bars. It tasted like cardboard, but it gave her energy. She rationed her water carefully. The container held 2 liters. In this heat, she would need at least 4 liters per day. She had to find more water sources. Behind her, perhaps 3 kilometers away, she heard a sound that made her freeze. It was a hunting call, high and sharp. They were communicating. They had found something. Kate moved faster, heading toward higher ground. She needed to see the terrain to understand this world's patterns. Every planet had patterns. Earth had them. This place would too. By midday, she reached the rocky hills had mentioned. From a high point, she could see the forest stretching in all directions. She also saw the hunters. They were visible as movement in the trees, 6 shapes moving in a coordinated pattern. They were boxing her in, closing a net. Kate studied them for 10 minutes, watching how they moved. They were fast, faster than humans. But they moved like they owned this place, like nothing could threaten them. That was good. Overconfidence was a weakness. She also watched the local wildlife. Small creatures moved through the canopy, quick and nervous. Larger things stayed near water sources. And there, in a clearing below, she saw something interesting. A huge beast, maybe 4 meters tall, with 6 legs and armor-plated skin. It was eating the red grass, peaceful and slow. Kate watched a hunter approach the clearing from the south. The hunter moved with perfect silence, weapons ready. But when the huge beast raised its head and snorted, the hunter immediately changed direction, giving the creature a wide space. So the local predators respected the herbivores. That was important information. Kate memorized the terrain and began working her way along the ridge line. The hunters would expect her to go down to seek cover in the forest. Instead, she stayed high, moving across exposed rock. It was harder, but it would confuse her trail. That night she found a cave in the hillside. It was shallow, barely 3 meters deep, but it got her out of the open. She made a small fire using dry plant material, knowing the smoke would be visible. Then she left the cave, climbed 50 meters higher, and settled into a crack in the rocks to sleep. In orbit, War Leader watched his hunters search the cave with the fire. They found it empty and began arguing among themselves. One of them, a warrior named, spoke into his communication device. "She tricked us. The fire was a distraction." Finder growled, "She is one small human. You are 6 trained hunters. Do not embarrass me." But felt something he rarely experienced, uncertainty. The human was not running blindly. She was thinking, planning, using tactics. She was treating this like warfare, not a hunt. Beside him, his second officer spoke quietly. "War leader, permission to speak freely." "Granted." "The human is making us look foolish. Should we send more hunters?" "Considered this." "No, 6 is traditional. 6 is honorable. If we need more to catch one human, we are not worthy of our rank." In the council ship, the debate had grown heated. Half the council members wanted to stop the hunt, declaring it a waste of time. The other half wanted to see how it ended. Elder raised his voice above the arguing. "Silence. We will continue to observe. This human has survived 30 hours already. That is longer than most cubs survive their first hunt. Show respect." The younger warrior shook his head. "She has survived through luck and tricks. She cannot fight. She has no real weapons. When the hunters finally corner her, she will die like all prey dies." "Perhaps," said, studying his screen. "But I wonder. They evolved on a harsh world just as we did. They have predators in their history. I begin to think we have made an error judging them as prey species." "They are weak," insisted. "They build machines to do their fighting. They negotiate instead of conquering. These are not the actions of predators." Gestured to the screen showing Kate climbing down from her hiding spot at dawn on the second day. "Look at her. Alone, wounded, exhausted. She knows she is being hunted by creatures stronger and faster than herself. Yet she does not surrender. She adapts, she thinks. Watch and learn, young, strength is not only in muscles and teeth." Kate spent the second day moving in a wide circle, staying away from the hunters but watching them whenever she could. She was learning their patterns, their tactics. They were good, but they were also predictable. They expected her to behave like prey. They expected fear to make her stupid. She was afraid. Terror lived in her chest like a living thing, making her hands shake and her breath come quick. But fear did not make her stupid. Fear made her careful. By afternoon, she had made her decision. Defense was not enough. She had to go on offense. She found what she needed near a cliff face. The ground there was unstable, broken up by underground water that had eroded the rock. Large sections of the cliff edge were held together by nothing but luck and plant roots. One good impact would bring it all down. Kate spent 3 hours preparing. She built a false trail leading across the unstable ground. She marked trees with her knife, making it obvious someone had passed through. She left torn cloth from her shirt caught on branches. She wanted the hunters to think she had been careless, that fatigue had made her sloppy. Then she climbed a tree on the far side of the cliff and waited. 2 hunters found her trail just before sunset. Kate watched them from her hiding spot in the branches. They were communicating with hand signals, moving in perfect coordination. They reached the edge of the unstable ground and paused, studying the obvious trail. One of them pointed at the marks on the trees. "She passed through here, recently. The sap is still fresh." The other hunter, a female named, sniffed the air. "I smell her fear. She is close." They moved onto the unstable ground, following the trail Kate had made. They were halfway across when Kate dropped from the tree, landing hard on solid ground near the cliff's edge. The impact was exactly what she needed. The ground shook. Cracks spread across the unstable section like lightning, roared a warning, but it was too late. The entire section of cliff edge collapsed, taking both hunters down with it. Kate ran to the edge and looked down. The drop was maybe 20 meters onto broken rocks below. She saw at the bottom, not moving, had caught a ledge halfway down and was climbing back up, her yellow eyes fixed on Kate with pure rage. Kate did not wait. She ran into the forest, her heart pounding. Behind her she heard hunting call, different from before. This was not a call of pursuit. This was a call of fury. The hunt had changed. The prey had killed a hunter. Kate ran until her legs burned and her lungs screamed for air. She found a stream and waded into it, washing away her scent. Her hands were shaking badly now. She had killed someone. It did not matter that they were trying to kill her. It did not matter that she was fighting for her life. She had still taken a life, and that weight settled on her shoulders like stone. She climbed out of the stream a kilometer downstream and collapsed against a tree, gulping air. She checked herself for injuries. Her right ankle was swelling from the jump. Her hands were cut and bleeding from climbing. She was running on maybe 4 hours of sleep in the last 48 hours. But she was alive, and she had 13 hours left to survive. In orbit, War Leader stared at his screens in shock. His life signs had gone flat. One of his best hunters dead, killed by prey. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. "Order the others to exercise extreme caution," he said, his voice tight with controlled rage. "The human is more dangerous than we believed." In the council chamber, absolute silence had fallen. Every member stared at their screens, watching the replay of the cliff collapse. They watched the human drop from the tree with perfect timing. They watched her use the environment as a weapon. They watched her run, not in panic but with purpose. Elder slowly sat back in his chair. "Now we understand," he said quietly. "She is not prey. She is a hunter who pretends to be prey. This is a tactic. Humans are ambush predators." Said nothing, his earlier confidence shattered. "Continue observation," ordered. "I want full analysis of human capabilities. This changes everything." On Prime, as the second night fell, Kate huddled in a hollow log, shivering despite the heat. She held her data pad close, looking at the photo of the cubs. She had promised to survive. She had promised to save them. 1 hunter was dead. 5 remained. 13 hours until sunrise when the hunt would end. If she could survive that long. Somewhere in the darkness, a hunting call split the night. This time, all 5 remaining hunters answered. They were coordinating, changing their tactics. They were no longer hunting prey. They were hunting something that could kill them back. And Kate, alone and wounded in an alien forest, smiled grimly in the darkness. Let them come. She was not done fighting yet. The third morning came too quickly. Kate woke to the sound of movement all around her. The hunters had changed their tactics overnight. They were no longer trying to box her in. They were driving her, pushing her toward something. She could hear them in the trees, see flashes of movement through the red leaves. They were hurting her like prey. Kate's body was failing. The swelling in her ankle had spread to her entire lower leg. Every step sent pain shooting up through her knee. Her hands were infected from the cuts, red lines spreading up her forearms. She had run out of water 3 hours ago, and the morning heat was already brutal. Her head pounded with dehydration. But she kept moving because stopping meant death. The forest opened into a wide valley, and Kate understood immediately what the hunters were doing. They were forcing her across open ground where she would have no cover. She saw them at the edges of the tree line, 5 shapes waiting for her to break from cover. Kate studied the valley. The ground was strange here, covered in patches of yellow and white mineral deposits. Steam rose from cracks in the earth. The air shimmered with heat that had nothing to do with the sun. Thermal vents, volcanic activity underground. The ground here was unstable, superheated by magma below. It was dangerous to cross, which was exactly why the hunters expected her to avoid it. Kate smiled through cracked, bleeding lips. She was done running. She moved to the edge of the valley and began studying the ground patterns carefully. The yellow deposits marked stable ground. The white deposits marked where the heat was strongest, where the earth was thin and fragile. She traced a path in her mind, memorizing each safe spot. Then she stepped into the open. The hunters saw her immediately. Their calls split the air as they broke from cover, running toward her. They were fast, covering ground in great leaping strides. Kate had maybe 30 seconds before they reached her. She ran across the valley, following her memorized path exactly. Yellow patch to yellow patch, avoiding the white. The ground was hot even through her boots. Steam burned her exposed skin. Behind her, she heard the hunters gaining ground. They hit the valley at full speed, not seeing the danger. They were focused only on the prey ahead. Kate reached the far side and turned. "Come on," she screamed at them. "Come get me." The first hunter was almost on top of her when the ground beneath her feet gave way. The crust of earth broke like paper and fell into the thermal vent below. Her scream was cut off as superheated steam erupted upward. Two more hunters tried to stop, but momentum carried them forward onto the fragile ground. It collapsed under their weight, taking them down into the volcanic heat below. The remaining two hunters, seeing what happened, slid to a stop at the valley's edge. They stared at Kate across the steaming ground, their expressions showing something she had not seen before. Fear. Kate turned and walked into the forest on the far side, leaving the hunters behind. She had killed 3 more, 5 hunters dead out of 6, only 1 remained. But the cost had been severe. Kate collapsed 100 meters into the forest, her body finally giving up. The burns on her legs and arms were worse than she thought. During her run across the valley, steam had caught her left side, scalding skin from her ribs to her hip. The pain was beyond anything she had ever felt. She pulled out her medical supplies with shaking hands. The antiseptic felt like acid on her burns. She wrapped bandages around the worst of it, but she was out of clean cloth. She had nothing left. Her vision swam. Fever burned through her, mixing with heat exhaustion and dehydration. She knew the signs. Infection had taken hold. Even if she survived the next few hours, she might die from sepsis afterward. Kate checked the sun's position. Maybe 8 hours left, 8 hours to survive. She forced herself to stand and kept walking. She did not know where she was going anymore. She just knew she had to keep moving. High in orbit, the council chamber had erupted in chaos. 5 hunters dead, 5 trained warriors killed by a single human female who was barely able to stand. The footage played over and over on their screens. The cliff trap, the thermal valley, every movement calculated, every action deliberate. Elder had not spoken for an hour. He watched the recordings in silence, his ancient eyes seeing something the others missed. Finally broke the silence. "She fights like a predator. I was wrong to dismiss her." "No," said quietly. "She does not fight like a predator. She fights like prey that has become predator. That is far more dangerous." He gestured to the screens. "Look at her motivations. She did not enter this hunt for glory. She did not do it for resources or territory. She did it for cubs not of her own species. She is willing to die for children she does not know." Another council member, a warrior named Dax, spoke up. "But why? It makes no evolutionary sense. Protecting one's own offspring, yes, but other species, this is wasteful." Pulled up older footage, recordings from before the hunt began. He showed the council the moment Kate first saw the cubs through the... He showed her face as she watched them, the pain in her eyes. "Run full analysis on human history," ordered. "I want to know everything about their species, their evolution, their wars, their culture, everything." The data came back within minutes. The council read in silence. They learned about humans emerging from a harsh world where everything wanted to kill them. They learned about human tribes forming bonds beyond blood relations. They learned about human soldiers throwing themselves on explosives to save their comrades. They learned about human parents sacrificing themselves for their children. But more than that, they learned about human compassion, about humans adopting orphans from other communities, about humans risking their lives to save strangers, about humans forming emotional bonds with animals, even predators that could kill them. "They pack bond," said slowly, understanding finally clicking into place. "Not just with their own kind, with everything. They see cubs and something in their biology drives them to protect those cubs, regardless of species." He looked at the other council members. "We have made a terrible mistake. We classified humans as weak because they negotiate instead of conquer. We thought they were prey because they avoid conflict. But we were wrong. Humans are not predators like us. They are something else entirely." "What are they?" asked. Pointed to the screen showing Kate stumbling through the forest, badly wounded but still moving. "They are guardians. They protect the weak. They fight for others. This makes them more dangerous than any predator because you cannot scare them away with strength. You cannot make them submit. They will die before they abandon those they have chosen to protect." The council sat in stunned silence, understanding the implications. "If humans are guardians," Dax said slowly, "and if they pack bond with other species, then any species that allies with humanity gains protectors who will die for them. Any species that attacks humanity's allies attacks humanity itself." Nodded. "Exactly. We have been evaluating them incorrectly. They are not a military threat through conquest. They are a diplomatic threat through alliance. Species will flock to them for protection, and humans will provide it even at the cost of their own lives." On the surface of Prime, Kate had found ancient ruins half buried in the forest. She crawled inside, her body screaming in protest. The structure provided shade and protection. She could rest here. She drank the last drops from her water container, knowing it was not enough. Her fever raged. The burns on her side had started to ooze clear fluid, a bad sign. She was dying slowly, her body shutting down piece by piece. Kate pulled out her data pad with trembling hands. She looked at the photos one more time, her family back on Earth, smiling at the camera. Her sister Amy, forever young in a picture from 25 years ago. The cubs, pressing their small hands against the... "Almost there," she whispered to the cubs in the picture. "Just a few more hours, then you're free, then you're safe." She heard movement outside the ruins. Heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate. One of the hunters had found her. Kate tried to stand, but her legs would not support her weight. She dragged herself to the entrance, knife in hand. If this was her last fight, she would face it head-on. War Leader himself stood at the entrance. He was not in hunting gear. He wore full armor, the ceremonial kind reserved for important occasions. His weapon was holstered. Behind him, the single surviving hunter waited, weapons ready. Looked at Kate for a long moment. She was barely conscious, covered in burns and infection, holding a knife with hands that shook. But her eyes were still defiant. "The hunt ends at sunset," said quietly. "That is in 3 hours. You have survived longer than any prey in our history. You have killed 5 of my best hunters. You have earned something I never thought I would give to prey." He knelt down so he was at her level. "Respect. You have my respect, Kate." Kate's grip on the knife loosened. "The cubs," she whispered, "the refugees." "They will go free," he said. "You have my word. Whether you survive these last 3 hours or not, my oath stands. They are free." "Good," Kate said and collapsed. Caught her before she hit the ground. "Medic," he roared. "Now." The surviving hunter stepped forward, confused. "War Leader, the hunt is not over. She must survive on her own." Looked at his warrior with cold eyes. "The hunt is over. This female has proven herself. She does not fight for herself. She fights for cubs not her own. That is warrior behavior. That is honor. Any warrior who lets another warrior die needlessly is no warrior at all." He looked down at Kate, unconscious in his arms, barely breathing. "Besides," he said softly, "I want to know why she did it, and she cannot tell me if she is dead." Kate woke 3 weeks later in a medical facility she did not recognize. The ceiling above her was white and clean, not the red sky of Prime. Medical equipment surrounded her bed, machines that beeped and hummed. For a long moment she just stared at the ceiling, trying to understand if she was alive or dead. Pain answered that question. Her left side felt like it was on fire, a constant burning that no amount of medication could completely erase. Her right leg was wrapped in bandages and elevated. When she tried to move her hands, the muscles did not respond correctly. "You are awake." The voice was deep and familiar. Kate turned her head, the movement taking enormous effort. War Leader sat in a chair beside her bed. He looked uncomfortable in the small human-sized furniture, but he had clearly been there for some time. "The cubs," Kate whispered, her throat raw. "Safe," said immediately. "All refugees were released as promised. The cubs are with their families in a settlement on the far side of neutral space. They ask about you every day." Relief flooded through Kate so strongly that tears leaked from her eyes. She had done it. Somehow, impossibly, she had won. "Why am I here?" she asked. "Why did you save me?" Leaned forward, his yellow eyes studying her face. "Because I need to understand. You knew you would likely die. You knew the odds. Yet you offered yourself anyway, for cubs not of your species, for people you had never met. Why?" Kate was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Because someone had to," she said finally. "Because I saw them and I saw my sister. Because I could not stand by and watch children be taken." "Your sister?" asked. So Kate told him about the raid on her colony, about hiding in the closet with Amy, about losing her sister to raiders who took children as slaves, about searching for 20 years and never finding her, about the guilt that lived in her chest like a stone. "I could not save Amy," Kate said, her voice breaking, "but I could save them." Was silent for a long time. Finally he spoke, and his voice held something Kate had never heard from him before: emotion. "We were wrong about your species. We thought you were weak because you value diplomacy. We thought you were prey because you avoid unnecessary violence, but we did not understand. You are not weak. You are restrained. You choose mercy when you could choose violence. That takes more strength than we possess." He stood, towering over her bed. "The Predator Council has made a decision. They wish to speak with you when you are well enough. It is unprecedented, but then everything about you is unprecedented." Over the next 2 weeks, Kate slowly regained some strength. The doctors had saved her life, but the damage was permanent. The burns on her left side would never fully heal. The scars would remain forever, twisting from her ribs to her hip like melted wax. Her right leg had suffered nerve damage. She would walk with a limp for the rest of her life. Her hands trembled constantly now, nerve damage from the infections. She could still use them, but fine motor control was gone. She would never work with delicate instruments again. Kate looked at herself in the mirror and saw someone different than the woman who had challenged the hunters. That woman had been whole. This woman was broken in ways that would never mend. But the cubs were safe. That thought kept her going through the pain and the rehabilitation. The Predator Council came to her, rather than making her come to them. It was another unprecedented act. Council members never visited those they judged. But 5 massive aliens entered Kate's medical room one morning, filling the space with their presence. Elder spoke first. "Kate of Earth, we have observed your actions. We have studied your species. We have made a determination that affects all of humanity." Kate sat up in her bed, wincing at the pain. "What determination?" "Humanity will no longer be classified as prey or servant species," said. "You are recognized as warrior people, worthy of respect and treaty rights." Kate felt her chest tighten. That was huge. That meant humans could trade freely, could join councils, could have a voice in galactic politics. But she sensed there was more. "However," continued, "we have also recognized something else about your species. You possess a trait we do not. You protect the weak, even when it costs you everything. You form bonds with other species, treating them as family. This makes you dangerous in ways we never anticipated." "Dangerous?" Kate asked. The younger council member stepped forward. "Dangerous because species will seek your protection. They will ally with you, knowing that humans will fight for them. They will trust you with their young, their weak, their vulnerable. And you will accept that burden even though it may destroy you." Nodded. "We are predators. We understand strength and conquest, but you are guardians. You understand sacrifice and compassion. The galaxy will change because of your presence. Species will have a choice now. They can align with strength or with protection. Many will choose you." Kate absorbed this slowly. What does this mean for humanity? It means you have a responsibility, said. Other species will look to you. You must be worthy of that trust. You must be the guardians you have shown yourselves to be. He paused, then added quietly, it also means that those who threaten species under human protection threaten humanity itself. That is a warning to us as much as to you. We will not make that mistake. The council left after that, leaving Kate alone with her thoughts. 2 months after the hunt, Kate was finally cleared to return to human space. Her crew from the horizon's edge came to pick her up. They crowded into her room in the lead, all of them trying to talk at once. The captain is waiting to chew you out, said with a grin. But between you and me, he is proud as hell. You are famous, Kate. Everyone in human space knows your name. Kate shook her head. I just did what needed doing. You saved 21 lives, said, and you changed how the galaxy sees us. That is a bit more than just doing what needed doing. Before she left, War Leader came to say goodbye. He stood in the doorway, looking uncomfortable with sentiment. You promised to tell me why you did it if you survived. You survived. Kate looked at him, this massive predator who had learned to see prey as equals. I did it because they were children, because they needed someone to fight for them, because I remembered what it was like to be helpless and afraid. She paused, then added, and because I could. I had the ability to help, so I had the responsibility to try. Nodded slowly. That is why humans will change the galaxy. You see responsibility where others see opportunity. You see duty where others see choice. He placed a hand over his chest in a salute. Warrior Kate, may your scars remind you of your honor. Kate returned to Earth 3 months after leaving it. She had to retire from diplomatic service. The nerve damage in her hands made it impossible to work with the delicate equipment diplomats used. Her leg injury meant she could not pass the physical requirements for active duty. She took a position as an instructor at the Diplomatic Academy, teaching new diplomats about alien cultures and first contact protocols. She was good at it, her real-world experience giving her lessons weight that textbook knowledge could never match. But every day she felt the pain. Her scars ached in cold weather. Her leg gave out if she stood too long. Her hands shook when she was tired. Simple tasks like typing or holding a cup required concentration and effort. A young trainee named approached her one day after class. He was fresh-faced and eager, maybe 22 years old. "Commander, can I ask you something?" "Of course," Kate said, settling carefully into her chair. "Was it worth it?" asked. "Everyone knows the story. You saved the refugees. You changed how aliens see humanity, but you also lost everything. Your career, your health, your future. Was the cost worth the gain?" Kate looked at him for a long moment. Then she pulled up a file on her data pad and turned it so he could see. It was a video message. In the video, 5 cubs stood together, now grown into young adults. They had cubs of their own, small children who tumbled around their feet. The oldest of the original 5 spoke in careful trade language. "Kate, we send this message to honor you on the anniversary of our freedom. We have built a memorial in our settlement. It bears your name and tells your story. Our cubs will know what you did. Their cubs will know. For all generations, we will remember the human who chose us over herself. You are packed, Kate, forever." The video ended, stared at the screen, then at Kate. "I lost my career," Kate said quietly. "I lost my health. I live with pain every single day. I will never be the person I was before the hunt." She pointed at the screen. "But those 5 grew up free. They have families now, children who were never in cages, futures that were never stolen. And all across the galaxy, other species look at humanity and see protectors instead of competitors." She stood up slowly, supporting herself on her desk. "Every scar has a story. Mine has 21 happy endings. So yes, it was worth it. It will always be worth it." That night, Kate sat in her small apartment, looking at the photos on her wall. Amy smiled at her from one frame, forever 5 years old. The cubs smiled from another, pressed against a reaching for her. Kate touched the photo of Amy gently. "I could not save you," she whispered, "but I saved them. I hope that matters. I hope that counts for something." In the silent apartment, surrounded by photos of those she had loved and lost and saved, Kate smiled through her pain. Her body was broken, but her spirit was whole. She had paid the price, and she would pay it again without hesitation. Because that was what guardians did. They protected the innocent. They fought for those who could not fight for themselves. They sacrificed everything so others could have everything. High above Earth, in a ship that bent light around itself, Elder watched the human female through his sensors. He had monitored her since her return, studying her recovery, watching how she adapted to her new limitations. "She still suffers," said, watching alongside him. "Every day she lives with pain from her choice." "Yes," said quietly, "and every day she would make the same choice again. That is what makes humans terrifying. They cannot be deterred by cost. They cannot be frightened by consequences. When they decide something must be done, they do it, regardless of price." He turned away from the screen. "We were fools to see them as weak. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy because they are not motivated by conquest or survival. They are motivated by compassion. And there is no force in the universe more powerful than someone who has decided that another life is worth more than their own." The Council ship faded into the darkness, leaving Earth behind. But the Council would continue to watch humanity, no longer with contempt but with cautious respect. Because they had learned the truth. Predators ruled through strength, but guardians ruled through sacrifice. And in the end, sacrifice changed the galaxy far more than strength ever could. Kate, guardian of cubs not her own, carried her scars with pride. She had paid the price, and 21 lives were free because of it. That was enough. That would always be enough.